try to make this as painless as possible. I'm going to start off with a quote from the American Society of Quality. 67% of customers leave because of an attitude of indifference on the part of a company employee. Human-to-human interactions play a huge role in business regardless of the career path that you choose or what job you are going to be going into once you get your degree here. If you want a client to buy what you're selling, you have to think like your client and put yourself in their shoes. To transition to the next topic that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to hand out this story. We're going to discuss what's known as a moment of truth. And this is a story. Oh, I'm sorry, I gave you an extra one. That has to do with SAS Airlines, which is Scandinavian Airlines. Thank you. Okay, I just have to. Thank you. Wait for everybody to get one. I'm going to read it out loud, if everybody could just follow along with me. SAS Airline, Moments of Truth. Jan Carlzon became president of the ailing SAS Airlines in 1981. That year, the airline had done so poorly, it lost a total of $8 million. Carlzon researched the problem and found the lost revenues had nothing to do with the airplanes, hangars, or standard operating procedures. Instead, he found that SAS was losing money because customers were unhappy. Carlzon began talking with passengers about their SAS trips, their perceptions and their conclusions. He discovered that when a typical passenger put down his or her tray and found a coffee stain that had been overlooked during the pre-flight cleanup, the passenger assumed that the airline was probably careless about its engine maintenance also. Armed with this belief, the passenger decided not to fly with this quote-unquote unsafe airplane. Jan Carlzon found that, as human beings, we take every specific experience and generalize them throughout an organization. This is the power of first impressions. These specific experiences strongly influence individuals' decisions to purchase from, stay with, or leave an organization. Irrational behavior, most definitely. Does it happen all the time? Yes, and every day to all businesses. Carlzon defined these experiences, as well as every time a consumer comes into contact with an employee, as moments of truth. Carlzon determined that every SAS customer had 5 moments of truth on each flight. 10 million customers represent 50 million opportunities to form a good or bad opinion of SAS Airlines. Once Carlzon and SAS identified their customers' moments of truth, they reorganized the airline to manage them flawlessly. In a little over 1 year, the company turned an $8 million loss into a $71 million gross profit. So, a moment of truth is any time an individual comes into contact with an organization. During each of these interactions, he or she has an opportunity to form either a positive or a negative opinion of the company. So I'm going to go through an example of a moment of truth. You are a guest, and you decide, you know what, I'm going to visit a local hotel. Let's say the Radisson, because that's where I work. So you go to the Radisson, and you are hungry, and you're in the mood for dinner. So we're going to go ahead and go through every moment of truth that I'm going to encounter. So I walk into the Radisson, or maybe I fly in, I'm visiting. And I call the Radisson, and they send the shuttle driver over. So the shuttle driver, that's the first human-to-human interaction before I even walk through the doors of the Radisson. I get in the front doors, and I meet a lobby lizard. For those of you who aren't in the field, a lobby lizard is pretty much just the greeter. You immediately when you walk through the doors, it's the first person that you're going to see. They're going to say, "Welcome to the Radisson," and point you in the right direction. You may come in contact with a lobby attendant. A lobby attendant is the person responsible for basically the maintenance and the sanitation and the cleanliness of the lobby. Housekeepers, there may be housekeepers walking by. Front office agents, if you go up to the front desk, or they may be out in the front lobby area. And this is before you have even stepped foot into the restaurant. So now you're approaching the entrance into the restaurant, and you meet the host or hostess. You go ahead and you get seated at your table. You meet your server, as well as other servers that are going to be walking around the restaurant. There may be bartenders if you go in the evening. An expediter is the person that's going to be running your food when you place an order. The bussers. Bussers are people who clear the tables. Management. It could be the supervisor or manager of the restaurant. It could be the general manager of the hotel. And other guests. So this was just one example of how one guest can experience 12 moments of truth when visiting a hotel restaurant. In baseball, the batter gets 3 opportunities, 3 strikes and then you're out. But in business, it doesn't work that way. You have one opportunity. One opportunity to either make your business look good or make your business look bad. And all it takes is one bad interaction for the entire company to look bad. It could just take one person. In today's highly competitive market, it's no longer enough to just meet guest expectations. You have to exceed their needs. And obviously it's very difficult. Every person's different, so their standards, their expectations, their wants, and their desires are going to be different. So we're going to look at some service behaviors that will never fail, regardless of the situation or the context that you'll find yourself in. Smile. Smile. It could be a client, it could be a customer of your business, it could be a guest of a hotel. Be the first one. Take the initiative. One of my biggest pet peeves is if I see one of the servers in the restaurant, I supervise the restaurant, so if I see a server and a guest is walking in, and the server might be back towards, maybe where the kitchen area is, and the guest comes in and the server says, "Hi, how are you?" and they allow the guest to come up to them. I say, no, go up, greet the guest, make them feel welcome, make them feel warm. That's huge. That's what it's going to be all about for them if they're going to want to come back to your company. Make eye contact. This youngster does a very good job of doing that. Make eye contact. Make the person feel like they're important, that you're actually paying attention to what's being said. Whether it's a good conversation, a bad conversation, you always want to make it feel like you're paying attention and they are your focus. Use names whenever possible. Judging by the context, you'll know if it's appropriate, depending on the type of rapport you've developed with a guest or a client, if it's okay to use a first name basis, or if maybe it's a repeat guest at a hotel and they stay with you every week and you want to say, "Hello, Mrs. Asselin," every time she walks into the hotel. "Thank you, welcome back." Look for clues. Look for clues to anticipate those needs. If you know that you have a meeting with a client and at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning and she loves French vanilla coffee from Dunkin' Donuts, then maybe you should have a French vanilla coffee from Dunkin' Donuts waiting for her for when she arrives. It's just a little way of anticipating a guest need, a client need. If it's raining outside and the guest is leaving your hotel and is going to be walking to their car, grab an umbrella, escort the person to the car. Listen and ask good questions. Be an active listener. Make sure that the other person knows that it's a dialogue and that it's an exchange and that what you're saying is being heard. If I meet you for the first time and Dr. Lisa Cisco gives me her business card and I write on the back that she, in addition to being a professor, owns a jewelry company with her sister. And the next time I see her, it could be 6 months from now, I say, "Hey, Dr. Cisco, how's your company going? How's that jewelry business? Is it doing well for you?" She's going to feel important. She's going to know that I remembered. She's going to know that I took the time to pay attention to what she was saying. Understanding the importance of moments of truth and meeting and exceeding guest expectations, implementing the service behaviors that we just went over, they're ways of strengthening customer relationships that will allow us to think like our guests. If we can step into their shoes, we can create memorable experiences for them that are going to make them want to come back, that are going to give us the repeat business. Not only will it strengthen the customer relationships, but it will create customer loyalty and it will build your brand. On that note, I'm going to leave you with a couple of quotes that I think are pretty interesting. They come from the Best of Active Training. The average customer tells 12 people about a service problem that he or she has had with an organization. And the average customer tells 3 people about a company with which he or she has no complaints. So if a guest is satisfied, they're not going to tell as many as if they have had a problem. So you want to make sure that every guest interaction, human-to-human interaction, those moments of truth that we discussed throughout the presentation, you want to make sure that they're memorable ones and memorable for the right reasons. On that note, I'm going to say thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask.